Okay, so before I start this video and get into it, I just want to say thank you to everyone who had sent me just a nice message concerning what had happened. For those of you who don't know, recently I was hospitalized for about a week due to a plethora of just various health issues, and I was released a while back. It was shortly before my last video, the Kazuha dental support video. And I am doing a bit better now, but it's just I just wanted to let you guys know that I'm fine and I'm good and I'm just grateful for everybody. And another thing before getting into this video, I like to think that I've stepped up my editing game this time. I'm not sure if I've figured out the audio issues yet. I hope I have, but I've definitely upped the editing this time. It took a damn long time to edit and I'm exhausted, so yeah, that's all I have to say. Um, Now you can watch the rest of the video. Hey, so this is a new mini-series on my channel where I'll be taking a look into artifact sets that have really similar effects and uses specifically for characters who can utilize them well, but have to go through some sort of constant debate of which one to choose. I hope to shed some light on how these sets differ and whether the trade-offs that each of them have are actually worth it, as well as how well units can actually proc these effects. However, like always, I have to give a disclaimer. I'm not here to calculate percentages or crunch the numbers on any character's damage output. I'm only here to explain how these artifacts work, how well they work in the current state of the game, and how well these effects can be taken advantage of. I am not here to shame, humiliate, or insult anybody who chooses one set over another for their builds. Now, with all that said and done, welcome to Artifact Antagony. Pyro. An element since the beginning of the game that has numerous strong top-tier units. Units like Bennett, Xiangling, and Hu Tao have all pioneered strong damage in gameplay. And when it comes to pyro damage and its respective reactions, the Crimson Witch of Flames artifact set has become a staple in enhancing them. Its 2-piece effect gives a flat 15% pyro damage bonus, while its 4-piece effect can massively increase pyro-related reactions while also allowing you to stack on more pyro damage bonus, depending on how many times you use your elemental skill. Burning, Overload, and Burgeon are increased by 40%, Melt and Vaporize are increased by 15%, and when the wielder uses their elemental skill, they gain a 7.5% increase in pyro damage bonus for a max of 3 stacks, each lasting 10 seconds independently. However, its respective artifact set locked away within the same domain also provides an interesting alternative. The Lavawalker set is a sort of mixed bag of beans, in which it gives a 40% pyro resistance in its 2-piece effect, while also allowing you to deal 35% increased damage against opponents affected by pyro with its 4-piece effect. Just looking at these two sets, you can see the stark difference in their effects. Crimson Witch prioritizes more damage as well as amplifying pyro reactions, while Lavawalker gives a more defensive option towards incoming pyro damage, but still gives just enough to boot. However, this sort of defensive utility is what makes this set less favored than Crimson Witch. Needing an elemental-specific resistance isn't something that needs to be built on anyone. Other defensive options such as shields, healing, and simply dodging attacks can be enough to bypass and counter damage received. For units that prioritize dealing damage, this sort of defensive utility is completely wasted. Even with the 4-piece effect, the trade-off isn't really worth the ire. Speaking of the 4-piece effect, this effect works with its 2-piece effect, making Lavawalker very confusing. The 2-piece effect makes it seem like enemies you are facing off against are dealing pyro damage, yet the 4-piece effect allows you to deal damage when they are affected by pyro. The only enemies that fit this description perfectly would be pyro elementals, such as slimes. This is very niche to just have one artifact set for this. The other situation where this would work is if the character equipped with this set is a pyro character, therefore dealing pyro damage. They would then be able to keep the pyro aura on most enemies and take advantage of the 35% increased damage dealt. The only exception to this would be the elemental enemies who would sustain their respective elemental types. However, the only other situation this would work would be if the character wielding the set was not a pyro character. It would be potentially a character of a different element who would be able to have enough pyro applied from other teammates to then deal overall increased damage from the other end of pyro reactions, such as Melt and Vaporize. And while this could produce some very favorable results, there are two jarring issues with this sort of strategy. First, there are going to be other teams and playstyles that don't utilize pyro in any way, and probably not in applying a sustained pyro aura anyways, so locking your character into this restrictive niche would not be the best move. Additionally, those teams that wouldn't use Pyro are also probably the unit's best team as well. And second, for dealing Pyro-related reactions from the other end, such as Melt and Vaporize, we have better artifact sets and combos than Lavawalker, Heart of Depth and Nymph Stream for Vaporize, and Blizzard Strayer for Cryo, just to name a few. As for Crimson Witch, not everyone can proc its 4-piece effect to the fullest, since not everyone can use their elemental skill 3 times back to back. However, the amplification of pyro-related reactions can more than make up for that, and even activating an elemental skill once can still grant additional damage bonus. And this is where another difference between these two are made known. Crimson Witch is more reaction focused, whereas Lavawalker, if equipped with a pyro unit meant to deal damage, is more focused on dealing raw pyro damage. Now, for the Crimson Witch set, there are many pyro characters who can and do use it well. Keep in mind, I will mainly be talking about units who can use these effects to a pretty realistic degree, aka I'm not going to be talking about any sort of copium like builds like a Xingyan pyro main DPS with a C6 Bennett, okay? No insult to those people who play that way, but I'm trying to be realistic here. So, Diluc is going to be the best example of this. This is due to his unique elemental skill that has a sequential 3-part hit, allowing him to fully achieve all 3 stacks of increased pyro damage. He is apparently the only character in the game, that is a pyro character, who is able to do this as of right now. Klee also follows suit in being able to proc 2 stacks because of the extra charge of her skill, but then falls to just 1. Interestingly enough, however, Klee does have a powerful enabler build in which she is being used as a driver for pyro reactions since she can apply a lot of pyro due to the mechanics of her kit, and that build does entail using her Lavawalker. However, there's a clear distinction in how that works. Klee on Crimson Witch build is meant for more direct damage from her, while Klee on the Lavawalker build is meant for more damage from teammates carrying. Lavawalker would actually be a complete disservice to Hu Tao, as he relies heavily on the Vaporize reaction, so an ensured Hydro Aura on enemies would actually be more appreciated. Additionally, she scales off of HP being converted into attack, so the additional pyro resistance is very meaningless as she's ultimately extremely tanky. Godfrey is pretty similar to Klee in being a pyro catalyst, but she has focus in terms of where she deals her main source of damage, and that's her charge attacks. That means that she will want to increase her charge attacks with reactions. Crimson Witch serves that purpose beautifully. And also like Hu Tao, the additional pyro resistance is completely wasted on Yanfei, as her C4 can produce a shield when she uses a burst that is 250% more resistance to incoming pyro damage. Yoimiya is an interesting case as her best in slot isn't even either of these two, but is actually Shimenawa's Reminiscence. However, when comparing these two solely, Crimson Witch comes out on top due to her being able to vaporize on her strongest arrows, her 3rd and her 5th. Not to mention that Yoimiya lacks AoE pyro application and damage, so the Lavawalker set wouldn't work in multi-target situations and would only be serviceable at best in single target. Xiangling seems like Lavawalker would really suit her well, as her elemental burst can apply pyro really well while also having no ICD, but Crimson Witch serves to amplify the reaction damage that her Pyronator can do, specifically since she's a sub-DPS unit. Though there's a strong alternative where Xiangling would be equipped with a 2-piece of Crimson Witch and a 2-piece of Noblesse Oblige. However, for Linny, his playstyle is very different. This comes with his 8-4 passive, where it increases the damage he deals by 60% when opponents are affected by Pyro. Additionally, he deals 20% more damage for each additional Pyro character in the party. The max damage bonus gained this way is 100%. This essentially prioritizes a mono-Pyro playstyle that encourages having a Pyro aura on opponents constantly. Not to mention the passive's commission is the same as Lavawalker's 4-piece effect. And since Linny deals more damage with mono Pyro, this means that he will not be using reactions. Crimson Witch's effect of increasing Pyro reactions is completely useless on him, though this happens to be the rare occurrence where Lavawalker actually wins over Crimson Witch. Then again, his best in slot is Marchase Hunter, but Lavawalker is still extremely good on Linny and definitely outperforms Crimson Witch. Now, I know I said I won't be talking about niche builds, but I do think that there is some worthy of mentioning, and the one that I have in mind is C6 Bennett. Now, as we all know by now, Bennett C6 allows for him to give and receive an additional 15% pyro damage bonus for active characters in his elemental burst, but it can also give him a pyro infusion to any melee weapon user for the time spent within its AoE. This means that Bennett does have the option to be played as a very good main DPS. This is due to the phenomenal energy generation and ability to buff himself, and through his infusion, he can actually be placed in the same situation as Klee, If you want to build him as a more pyro-focused main DPS, you can place him in Crimson Witch, and if you are using him more as a driver for off-field units, then Lavawalker can work. However, due to how he can buff himself a lot as well as the additional pyro damage bonus he can give himself, I'm more inclined to say that Crimson Witch would suit him best, especially since his skill would be on a very low cooldown and he can get the 3 stacks very, very easily. It's interesting to see how these two sets have had a bit of a battle throughout the times, and it's even more intriguing as both of these were artifacts released at the start of the game. Again, Crimson Witch offered a lot of damage, but only due to the access to pyro-related reactions, while Lavawalker gave a unique touch of resistance. Crimson Witch became a pretty clear winner in most situations, while Lavawalker ended up being pushed to the side, regarded either as a set for interesting niche builds for certain characters, being paired with the right teammates and facing the right enemies, or as just a completely useless set. And in all honesty, it was nice to see that at least one character, being Linny, could actually utilize Lavawalker very well without being an obstacle to him. So yeah, this was the first episode of, well, I guess if you can call it that, my new series, Artifact Antagony. You already know what button to press if you want to see more on a regular basis, and if you have something to say, I can only hope that it's nice. Thank you, bye!